The sun was already sinking when the gunshot echoed across the prairie. It wasn't loud, but sharp enough to make the cowboy's horse jerk its head and snort. Cole Whitaker felt the sound vibrate in his ribs, a warning, a ripple in the stillness he'd grown used to over the years. Out here, where the wind told you everything, even the quiet had its own voice. And this quiet suddenly felt wrong. Cole nudged his horse toward the distant shape of his barn. As he approached, he noticed something odd. The door, which he always latched tight against coyotes and the wind, was slightly open. Just an inch, but enough to make his hand slip instinctively toward the revolver on his hip. He dismounted silently, boots crunching over dry grass. Another sound drifted out from the barn, soft, shaky breathing. Not an animal, a person. Cole pushed the door open with the barrel of his gun. Inside, in the fading orange light, two figures huddled behind a stack of hay bales. Her face etched with exhaustion, stared back at him with eyes both fierce and hollow. Beside her, a younger woman barely in her 20s clutched a blanket around her thin shoulders, trembling like she might collapse at any second. They looked half-starved, dust-covered, and terrified. The older woman lifted a shaking hand, not in threat, but in surrender. "Please," she whispered. "We'll leave if you want. Just not tonight." Cole froze. These weren't thieves. They weren't bandits. They were survivors running from something. Something that had pushed them into a stranger's barn with nothing but desperation to guide them. But there was something else, too. A bruising on the younger woman's arm, a torn moccasin. The unmistakable way the older woman guarded her with her own body. Cole lowered his gun slowly. "You hurt?" he asked. The older woman hesitated, then nodded once. Not for herself, for the girl. Cole exhaled, long and heavy. He hadn't planned for company. He hadn't asked for responsibility. But in their eyes, he saw something he recognized to well fear loss, and the quiet kind of loneliness that doesn't go away on its own. "All right," he said at last. "You can stay, but we need to get you warm and fed." The younger woman's lips parted in relief. The older woman's shoulders sagged as though a weight she'd carried for years finally loosened a little. Cole stepped back, giving them room. Whatever had brought them here, whatever danger or sorrow they carried, had entered his world now, and nothing would be the same after this night. Cole hadn't realized how long it had been since someone else's footsteps echoed inside his home. He led the two women toward the cabin with steady but careful steps, glancing back every few seconds to make sure they didn't collapse along the way. The younger woman leaned heavily on the older one, her breaths shallow, almost ragged. Whatever they'd been through, it had taken them right to the edge. Inside the cabin, the warmth from the small fire Cole kept burning in the stove seemed to startle them, as though real heat was something they hadn't felt in days, maybe longer. "Sit," Cole said, gently guiding them toward the wooden bench by the hearth. The older woman didn't argue. The younger nearly fell into place. Cole grabbed a pot of stew from the stove bean, smoked venison, and potatoes from his last harvest. It wasn't much, but it was hot and real. The moment he set bowls in front of them, the younger woman's hands trembled so hard the spoon clattered against the metal rim. "No rush," Cole said softly. "Take your time. There's more if you need it." The older woman gave him a long, searching look. It wasn't mistrust, more like disbelief, as if acts of kindness had become myths somewhere along her journey. "You don't know us," she said finally. "No," Cole agreed. "But you look like you needed help. That's enough." The older woman lowered her eyes. The younger one ate in small, shaking bites, like someone who had forgotten the rhythm of hunger. Cole moved around the cabin quietly, giving them space. He pulled out blankets, filled a kettle for water, and placed his rifle back on the wall above the door. The sound of it clicking into place made both women flinch. "Sorry," he murmured, "just putting it away." The older woman's hand rested reassuringly on the younger woman's back. The gesture was protective, almost fierce. It told Cole one thing: wherever they came from, they hadn't been safe. When the younger woman finally finished eating, her eyelids fluttered, heavy with exhaustion. Cole grabbed another blanket and approached slowly. "You can rest here tonight," he said. "Both of you. I'll keep the fire going." The older woman met his eyes, measuring him, weighing something important before she nodded once. Cole turned toward the door. "I'll be outside if you need anything." He stepped out onto the porch, letting the cold evening air hit his face. Out here, the prairie stretched endlessly, silent except for the occasional call of nightbirds. Usually, that emptiness felt like home. Tonight, it felt different, like the world had shifted, like the quiet wasn't so empty anymore. And as Cole sat on the edge of the porch, keeping watch, he understood one thing with certainty. Whatever those women were running from, it wasn't finished with them yet. Cole didn't sleep that night. Every hour or so, he checked on the cabin through the window. At one point, he saw the older woman sitting awake, staring at the fire, wrapped in the blanket he'd given her. For a moment, her face lined with age, worry, and something deeper softened in the flickering light. She wasn't just exhausted. She was grieving something he couldn't name. By dawn, the cold had seeped through Cole's jacket. He stood, stretched, and stepped inside the cabin. The younger woman stirred at the sound, halfway, but before she could sit up, the older woman's hand was already on her shoulder in a protective reflex. "It's just me," Cole said quietly. The tension in their bodies eased, though only slightly. Cole boiled water for tea. The older woman watched him, cautious but observant. When he set cups in front of them, she finally spoke again. "My name is Nara," she said. Her voice held a strength that didn't match the weakness in her body. "And this is Lila, my daughter." Cole nodded. "I'm Cole Whitaker." Lila attempted a small smile, but it flickered and faded, as though the muscles of her face didn't remember how to hold warmth. Cole hesitated before asking, "Do you want to tell me what happened?" Nara exchanged a look with Lila, a heavy one, a shared one, and for a moment, Cole regretted asking. Not because he didn't want to know, but because whatever truth they carried wasn't something easily spoken. Finally, Nara said, "We came from far south. Our village. It no longer exists." Cole waited. He didn't interrupt. "There were men," she continued. "Riders, they took what they wanted, burned what they didn't. We fled with nothing." Lila's hands tightened in her blanket. Her eyes dropped. Cole's jaw clenched, but he kept his voice level. "You're safe here." Nara studied him again, that long, deep, weighing stare she gave him every time she had to decide whether to trust him. "No one is safe forever," she said softly. "But for now, it is enough." Cole nodded slowly. He didn't argue. Out here on the frontier, safety was a fragile thing like thin ice that could crack under one wrong step. As Lila drifted back to sleep, Nara's shoulders slumped in exhaustion. But before she rested, she spoke once more, her voice almost a whisper. "You have a lonely soul, Cole Whitaker. I can see it in your eyes." Cole stiffened. He didn't know what to say to that. "But lonely souls," Nara continued, "are often the kindest." Then she closed her eyes. Cole sat back, staring at the fire, the weight of her words settling somewhere deep inside him. He didn't know what this day, or the next, would bring. But one thing was clear. Those two women had walked into his barn by chance, and into his life by fate. The morning passed quietly, but Cole felt something stirring beneath the stillness and unease he couldn't shake. He'd lived alone long enough to trust the language of silence. And the silence today wasn't peaceful. It was alert, listening. After checking the horses and tending to chores, he returned to the cabin to find Nara outside, standing by the water pump. She was steadying herself against the post, trying to lift the handle despite the tremor in her hands. "You don't need to do that," Cole called out, walking toward her. Nara's grip tightened. "I am not a burden. I didn't say you were. But you're exhausted. Let me—" She hesitated, then stepped aside. Cole filled the tin bucket with fresh water and brought it inside. Lila was awake, sitting at the edge of the bed. Her hair fell over one shoulder, tangled and wild from sleep. But her eyes looked clearer than they had last night. "Morning," Cole said gently. She nodded, almost shyly. "Morning." Nara entered behind him, lowering herself into the chair by the fire. Her movements were slow, calculated, like someone who wasn't sure her body would obey. "You two ate enough?" Cole asked. "Yes," Nara said. "Your kindness. We do not take it lightly." "It's nothing," Cole replied. "No," Nara corrected him softly. "It is something—" Before Cole could respond, Lila's gaze drifted toward the window. The light hit her face in a way that revealed faint bruising he hadn't seen before. Hidden beneath dirt and shadows, Cole felt his jaw tighten again. Did the riders do that? Lila lowered her eyes without answering. Nara spoke for her. "They took from us more than food or shelter. They wanted strength for their labor. And youth? For other things." Her voice did not waver. But Cole felt the storm beneath her steadiness. Lila's shoulders shook. She didn't cry, but she looked like someone who had cried so much there was nothing left. Cole nodded slowly, gripping the back of a chair until his knuckles went white. "Nobody's touching you here. Either of you." Nara studied him with a quiet, almost mournful expression. "You speak like a man who has lost something before." Cole looked away. "Everyone out here has lost something." The wind outside shifted direction, slamming the loose shutters against the wall. Cole's instincts rose like a tide. Something in that wind carried danger, the kind that traveled on horseback. He stepped onto the porch, scanning the horizon. The prairie stretched endlessly, flat and golden under the sun. No movement. No dust clouds. No riders. Still, his gut twisted. Nara came to the doorway behind him. "You feel it too." "I do." "It means they are not far," she said. "Riders like them do not stop until they take everything." Cole rested his hand on the butt of his revolver. "Well," he said quietly, "they won't find anything here to take." The midday heat rolled across the prairie like a slow wave. Cole led Lila outside for fresh air, careful to keep her close to the cabin. The girl's steps were unsteady at first, but the sun warmed her face, and a small, almost invisible moment of peace settled over her. "This land is quiet," she whispered. "It is," Cole said. "Most days, anyway." Lila traced her fingers along the weathered porch railing, gazing out toward the distant hills. "My mother says quiet places remember things. Like the old stories, the ones the earth keeps." "She sounds wise." "She is," Lila replied. Then, after a pause, "But she is sick. She hides it, but I see it." Cole's breath caught. He had noticed Nara's labored movements, the heaviness in her breathing. But hearing it from Lila made it real. "I'll help however I can," he said. Leela looked at him then. Look full of uncertainty and trust, and fear all tangled together. Why are you helping us? Truly. Cole didn't answer immediately. He watched a hawk circle high above, gliding effortlessly on the warm currents. Because I know what it's like, he said finally. To run out of places to go. He didn't elaborate, and Lila didn't press him. Some truths didn't need explaining. A sudden gust of wind blew through the grass, bending the slender stalks in one direction south. Cole stiffened. That wasn't normal. The wind almost never shifted that sharply, that fast. Nara stepped outside just then, leaning against the doorframe. Riders approach from the south. I can feel it. Cole didn't doubt her. He'd heard stories of Apache women who felt danger like animals sensed storms. Whether it was instinct, memory, or something deeper, Nara's certainty carried weight. How long? Cole asked. Nara closed her eyes, letting the wind brush her face. A few hours, maybe less. Lila's breath hitched. Cole acted immediately. He walked to the barn, grabbed his saddle, checked his rifles, and brought out the spare horse he kept for emergencies. Lila watched him with wide eyes. You're leaving? She asked. No, Cole said. I'm preparing. For what? For whatever's coming? He moved with purpose, every motion sharp and efficient. Lila's hands trembled as she helped him bring water buckets closer to the cabin. When she stumbled, Cole steadied her gently. Listen, he said softly, you and your mother stay inside. If trouble comes, I'll handle it. She looked like she wanted to argue, but instead, she whispered, be careful. Nara approached then, her voice low. Cole Whitaker. He turned. If they come here, they will not ask questions, she said. They will kill you first. A lesser man might have faltered. Cole didn't. Then I'll make sure I'm faster, he replied. Nara nodded slowly, as though accepting something heavy she couldn't change. The wind blew again, carrying the faintest sound far too distant to be fully heard, but unmistakable. Hoofbeat. Cole's veins ran cold. They're coming. The hoofbeats grew clearer as the sun slid lower across the sky, casting long shadows over the prairie. Cole stood on the porch, shotgun in hand, scanning the horizon. He didn't breathe. He didn't blink. The world had narrowed to the faint tremor in the earth, and the whisper of danger in the wind. Behind him, the cabin door cracked open. Cole, Lila's voice was barely a sound. Stay inside, he said without turning. But inside, Lila. The door shut again, soft but trembling. Cole stepped off the porch and walked out into the open field. The wind pressed against his face, carrying dust and tension with it. A man who lived alone learned how to listen, not just to sound, but to the ground, to the air, to the way the world held its breath before violence. He felt it now. Minutes passed. Then the riders appeared. 4 of them, cresting the southern ridge. Their horses were lean and fast, built for long pursuits. The men rode with the posture of predators, easy, confident, certain of the fear they carried with them like a second skin. Cole set his feet shoulder width apart. He didn't raise his shotgun yet. He just watched. When the riders noticed him, they slowed, reining their horses into a lazy half circle. The lead rider, a tall man with a wide-brimmed hat and a scar down his cheeks pat into the dirt. This, your land, he called out. Cole didn't answer the question. You looking for someone? That depends, the man said. We got word 2 Apache women fled north. Might have passed through here. Cole's face didn't change, but something inside him sharpened. Haven't seen anyone fitting that description, he said. The scarred rider smirked. Funny, we saw tracks heading this way. You? Accusing me of lying? I ain't accusing, the man drawled. Just noticing. Cole finally lifted the shotgun, just enough so they could see the glint of metal. Notice something else, he said quietly. You're on my land, and I don't take kindly to threats. The wind shifted again this time, carrying a faint sound from the cabin. A floorboard creaked. A breath hitched. The riders heard it. The scarred man's eyes narrowed. Seems like you got company, friend. Cold didn't move. Just me and the wind. The man tilted his head, studying him with a predator's patience. Then he nudged his horse forward a few steps. We're gonna have a look around, he said. No, Cole replied. The man let out a low laugh. You gonna stop us? If I have to. The riders exchanged glances, half amusement, half calculation. The scarred man leaned forward in his saddle, eyes cold as riverstone. You're either very brave, he said, or very stupid. Cole cocked the shotgun with a slow, deliberate motion. Maybe both. For a moment, no one moved. The prairie stood silent, suspended in a breath. Then the scarred rider's smile faded. This ain't finished, he said. He pulled the reins sharply, signaling the others to turn back. Cole returned to the cabin slowly, shotgun resting in the crook of his arm. Lila flung the door open before he reached it, her face pale. Are they gone? She whispered. No, Cole said. But they're leaving. For now. Nara appeared behind her daughter, leaning heavily against the table. They will come back, she said. Men like them don't leave prey behind. Cole nodded grimly. I know. He stepped inside and locked the door. Then he moved to the window, pulling the curtain just enough to see the ridge. The riders were still therefore dark silhouettes against the fading sky, waiting. Lila approached him timidly. Why didn't they attack? Because they're not sure yet, Cole replied. They want to see if I'm bluffing, if I'm alone, if you two are worth the trouble. And if they decide we are, Lila asked. Cole met her eyes. Then they'll ride down at first light. Lila's breath trembled. Can we run? No, Nara said firmly from behind them. We are too weak. We would not make a mile. Cole didn't argue. He already knew that. He started moving through the cabin, securing windows, checking ammo, stacking wood beside the stove to keep the fire from dying overnight. His motions were sharp, controlled habits from another life. One he thought he'd left behind. Lila watched him with wide, fearful eyes. You've done this before. Yeah, Cole said. Too many times. Night fell fully. The prairie turned to a vast ocean of darkness, broken only by the faint glow of the riders' campfire on the ridge. They weren't hiding. They wanted him to see them, to think about them, to feel the pressure. Cole pulled a chair to the doorway and sat with his shotgun across his lap. You should sleep, Lila whispered. I will, he said. After sunrise. Nara approached him quietly. Her voice was low, but steady. These men, they have taken lives before. Many. You owe us nothing, Cole Whitaker. If we bring death to your doorstep, you can still choose to turn us away. Cole didn't look at her. Not happening. Why? Nara pressed. Cole stared into the night. His answer came slow, weighted with memory. Because no one helped my family when they needed it, he said. And I'm not gonna be that kind of man. Nara closed her eyes, a soft sadness touching her expression. You have a good soul, she murmured. Maybe, Cole said. But good souls die just as easy. Hours passed. The cabin grew warm from the fire, but outside, the cold deepened. Coyotes howled somewhere in the distance. Lila eventually fell asleep, curled near her mother. Nara rested with one hand protectively over her daughters. Cole didn't sleep. He kept watch. And when the riders' campfire finally went out, plunging the ridge into darkness, he knew what it meant. They were coming at dawn. The sky was still dark when Cole stepped outside. Dawn hadn't broken yet, but the horizon carried that faint silver glow that meant it was coming. He stood motionless, shotgun in hand, boots planted firmly in the frost-stiffened grass. The cold bit at his skin, but he didn't feel it. His focus was absolute. Behind him, inside the cabin, Lila and Nara slept restlessly. He could hear the soft shifts of their breathing through the thin wood. They didn't know he'd left the cabin, and he didn't plan on waking them, not yet. He glanced toward the southern ridge. Nothing. But that meant little. Riders who hunted people for sport didn't always announce their presence. They liked silence. They liked surprise. They liked fear. Cole breathed out slowly, his breath turning to mist. He checked his revolver, then the shotgun, then the rifle slung over his back. Every movement was a whisper, controlled, calculated. Another gust of wind swept across the plains, this time carrying a scent he knew too well, the faint musk of horses, sweat, and gunpowder. They were close. Cole crouched beside the water trough, watching the ridge with predator stillness. The first sliver of sun began to crest over the horizon, lighting the earth in pale gold. That's when he saw them. For riders, moving slow, deliberate, making no effort to hide themselves anymore. The scarred man rode in front, posture straight, his silhouette outlined by the rising sun like some omen carved from fire. Cole rose to his feet. The riders accelerated hooves, thundering across the prairie. Dust kicked up behind them, swirling into the morning air. Cole walked toward them, not running, not hiding, simply walking as though meeting destiny halfway. His shadow stretched long behind him. The riders slowed to a halt 20 feet away. "Well now," the scarred man called out. "Looks like you didn't sleep much, friend." "Didn't need to," Cole replied. The scarred man leaned forward in his saddle. "We thought on your situation. Thought maybe you'd reconsider telling us the truth." "I told you the truth," Cole said. "Ain't no one here but me." The scarred rider chuckled. "Is that so? 'Cause last night we saw firelight through your window. 2 shapes moving." Cole's jaw tightened. "And since we don't like lies," the man continued, "we're gonna look for ourselves. Now step aside." "No." The man's smile vanished. "Friend, if you make this choice, someone's dying today." Cole's grip tightened around the shotgun. "Then I guess we better get it over with." For a moment, the riders simply stared at him in disbelief. A lone man facing 4 armed killers. No one in their right mind would do that. Cole wasn't in the mood to be reasonable. The scarred man raised his hand, and everything froze. The air grew thin. The space between them shrank. The prairie seemed to hold its breath. Cole whispered, "Come on then." Snow fell heavier as night settled over the homestead, turning the world into a pale, silent void. Cole finished reinforcing the door, driving the last wooden beam into place. His breath fogged in the freezing air with every swing. Inside, the fire snapped weakly, barely pushing back the cold creeping through the cracks. Lila watched him work, worry flickering in her eyes like the flames behind her. "Will they come here?" she whispered. "They might," Cole answered honestly. He didn't believe in giving false hopes, not tonight. "But we're ready." He wasn't sure he believed that either. Nara sat by the fire, wrapped in thick blankets. Though she said nothing, her gaze followed Cole with a quiet knowing. She had survived winters darker than this one, and her silence carried the weight of someone who understood what was coming. Cole checked his rifle again. Clean barrel, loaded chamber. But his injured arm throbbed with every movement. He knew he wasn't at his best, winter or not. Danger didn't care. Outside, the wind howled like a living thing. Snow spiraled violently across the plains, erasing all tracks, theirs and the riders. It was a blessing and a curse. They couldn't be found easily, but they also couldn't see danger creeping closer. Lila moved to Cole's side, her hand brushing his coat sleeve. "You shouldn't be standing. You're still hurt." He glanced at her, noticing the fear in her voice, the tremor she tried to hide. "Doesn't matter," he said softly. "I'm not letting anything happen to you." Her breath caught, but before she could speak, Nara cleared her throat. "Fear makes the night longer," she murmured. "But trust can shorten it." Cole met her gaze. There was something unspoken in her eyes, and sorrow. Hours passed slowly. Cole took watch beside the door, listening for anything beyond the roar of the storm. The women rested near the fire, wrapped in blankets, whispering to each other in their native tongue. He couldn't understand the words, but their voices, fragile, touched something deep in him. At one point, Leela approached him again, sitting beside him near the wall. "I keep thinking about what you said," she murmured. "About us being safe." He didn't respond immediately. He simply looked at her, really looked, hand, saw the weight of everything she carried. Fear, hope, grief, and that quiet strength she didn't even realize she had. "We will be," he said finally. "I promise." Lila leaned her head gently against his shoulder. For a moment, the storm outside felt distant. "Thank you," she whispered. Cole didn't move, not wanting to break the fragile warmth between them. And somewhere across the frozen valley, hidden by the storm, the threat drew closer. The night was far from over. But for a brief moment, in the dim cabin lit by a struggling winter fire, the two of them found a small island of peace, one they weren't yet ready to lose. Cole burst through the cabin door, chest heaving, blood pounding in his ears. Lila knelt on the floor beside her mother, hands shaking as she tried to keep Nara upright. The older woman leaned heavily against Leela, the blanket slipping from her shoulders. Cole saw the dark stain spreading across the fabric, deep crimson, unmistakable. A bullet had found her. "Nara," Cole whispered, dropping to his knees beside them. Her eyes fluttered open. Pain clouded her gaze, but beneath it was a strange, peaceful acceptance. As if she'd known this moment was coming long before any of them. "I am all right," she breathed. "No," Lila cried, voice cracking. "You're not." "Mother, please stay with me." Nara brushed trembling fingers across Leela's cheek. "Little one, you are safe." Cole grabbed a cloth and pressed it to the wound. But Nara winced and gently pushed his hand away. "Cole," she said softly, "do not waste your strength." "I can still help you," he insisted. "Just stay awake." Nara shook her head. "My time has been borrowed for many years. Today, I return it." Lila sobbed, burying her face against her mother's shoulder. Cole swallowed hard, fighting the burn in his eyes. He'd seen death before, too many times, but this felt different. He had known Nara only a handful of days, but her presence carried the weight of someone who'd lived 100 lifetimes. Nara turned her gaze to Cole. "There is something I must ask of you." He leaned closer. "Anything. You have a good heart, a strong spirit. My daughter." She paused, breath hitching with pain. "Lila will be alone when I am gone." Cole opened his mouth, but the words refused to come. "I know what loneliness does to a soul," Nara continued. You know it too. Promise me. Promise you will not let her live in that emptiness. I won't, Cole said immediately, voice rough. I'll protect her. Both of you. Nara smiled faintly. Not protection. Not pity. She does not need a savior. She reached toward Leela, who took her hand desperately. She needs a home, a future. Someone who will love her, because he chooses to. Cole's breath caught. Nara's next words were barely audible. Promise me you will not leave her behind. Lila looked up, eyes red and terrified. Mother, stop please, don't talk like that. Nara cupped her daughter's face. Lila, my brave girl, you must live. You must love. The world is still wide. Then she turned back to Cole. Well, she whispered. Cole felt something inside him shift, something long sealed. Cracked open by loss, by courage, by the weight of this woman's trust. He reached out, placing his hand gently over Nara. I promise, he said quietly. I won't leave her. Nara exhaled a long, trembling breath that carried gratitude, relief, and the remnants of a lifetime's burden. She rested her forehead against Lee. You have my blessing, she murmured. Both of you. The wind outside stilled. The fire flickered softly. The storm eased by morning, leaving the world wrapped in white silence. Frost clung to the cabin windows, but inside, the fire burned with a warmer, steadier glow. Lila sat near the hearth, staring at the blankets where her mother had lain just hours before. Cole approached quietly, setting a hand on her shoulder. She's at peace, he said softly. Lila nodded, but her eyes were red. Her expression distant, caught between grief and something like gratitude. Outside, the valley shone under pale winter sunlight, the kind of light that made everything look new, even after loss. Cole stepped out first, letting the cold bite his lungs before turning back to her. Come, he murmured. They walked together toward the cottonwood tree where Nara now rested beneath a mound of snow. The wind brushed softly around them, as if carrying her spirit. Lila knelt in the snow, fingertips trembling as she pressed a carved wooden pendant into the white covering the grave. A single tear fell, freezing almost instantly. Cole waited behind her, giving her space. When she finally rose, she turned to him, not with despair, but with fragile resolve. She wanted me to live, Leela whispered. Not just survive, live. You will, Cole said. You're not alone anymore. The words surprised even him, but they felt true. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like a man drifting through the world without purpose. Standing there in the frozen valley, he felt something anchor him, something stronger than solitude. They returned to the cabin, where warm firelight spilled across the floorboards. Lila paused at the doorway, hesitating. Cole, what happens now? He looked at her, at the uncertainty in her voice, at the hope fighting its way through her grief. The cabin no longer felt like a hiding place. It felt like the beginning of something slow, fragile, but real. We build, he answered, one day at a time. A soft smile touched her lips. She stepped closer, slipping her hand into his. The gesture was simple, almost shy, but it carried the weight of everything they had survived. Outside, snow sparkled beneath the rising sun. The valley stretched endlessly before them, silent and untouched. For years, Cole had believed winter meant emptiness, loneliness, a world too cold for second chances. Now, standing beside Lila, he understood. Winter could also mean renewal, a clean slate, a place to begin again. And under that endless snowy sky surrounded by loss, Bound by promise, they took their first step into a life they would build together. Not out of pity, but out of something deeper, gentler, and fiercely hopeful. A new home, a new future, a new start in the frozen frontier.
Lightning split the Wyoming sky as Mara Ellison tore across the ridge on horseback, the wind clawing at her coat like a desperate hand. She didn't have time to think, only to flee. Behind her, the crack of rifle fire echoed off the canyon walls, each shot slicing closer, each one meant for her. The rains burned her palms, but she urged her mare harder, eyes fixed on the narrow trail ahead. One wrong turn and she'd drop straight into the ravine. One hesitation and the men chasing her would finish what they'd started at her barn. A flaming beam had nearly crushed her minutes ago. Someone had set the fire on purpose. She could smell the kerosene still, clinging to her clothes. As the smoke thickened, she had seen their silhouettes, hired riders, faces hidden, guns drawn. And she knew exactly who had sent them. The hoofbeats behind her grew louder. Mara's heart pounded, but not from fear alone, from fury. This land was all she had left of her husband. She would not let Harlan Crow take it. But then the trail vanished. A rock slide had ripped the path away, leaving only a deadly drop into darkness. Her mare skidded, reared, and a hand shot out of the shadows, gripping her bridle before she plunged forward. "Mara, don't move!" The voice was sharp, commanding, unmistakably calm in the chaos. A tall figure stepped between her and the edge, boots planted firm on the trembling ground. Elias Kane, the only man in the county who had ever stood up to Harlan and lived. "You're being herded," he said, scanning the ridge behind her. "They want you cornered." And they're close. A bullet screamed past, sparking off stone. Elias didn't flinch. He pulled Mara from the saddle and shoved her behind a boulder just as another shot thundered through the storm. "You've got enemies you didn't make," he growled. "But I know the men who did." Mara's breath shook, but her voice didn't. "I'm not running anymore." Elias gave her a look sharp, assessing, dangerous. "Good," he said. "Then it's time we fight back." Thunder rolled overhead, but it wasn't as loud as the truth settling between them. This was no accident. This was war. The storm had barely broken when Elias led Mara down a narrow elk trail hidden beneath twisted pines. The ridge behind them still echoed with distant gunfire, but the shooters had lost their line of sight. For now, Mara's breath steamed in the cold air, her hands stiff from gripping the wet reins, yet her mind burned hotter than the fire that destroyed her barn. She kept seeing it, her home engulfed in flames, the smoke choking the sky, the crack of collapsing beams swallowing the last piece of her husband's life. Elias stopped abruptly and lifted a hand. Mara froze. "Tracks," he muttered, crouching. "3 riders, fresh, they weren't chasing you at. Random, they were cutting off. Every escape." Mara swallowed the knot in her throat. "Harlan's getting bold. Harlan's getting desperate," Elias corrected, brushing mud from the print. "A man only sends this many hounds when something is slipping through his fingers." Lightning flickered again, illuminating his face stern, calculating, yet carrying an edge of something she couldn't quite name. Resolve? Guilt? Or maybe a burden heavier than the rifle slung across his back. Mara had heard stories of him, a fighter, a problem solver, a man who walked into danger without hesitation. But no one mentioned the quiet intensity he carried, like he was always listening for something others couldn't hear. They moved deeper into the woods, their horses weaving between fallen logs. Every rustle made Mara tense, but Elias seemed almost fused with the wilderness. He pointed to a break in the trees. "Cut through there. The creek will mask our trail." As they crossed the rushing water, Mara finally spoke the question gnawing at her. "Why help me? You barely knew my husband." Elias didn't look back. "Didn't have to. I knew the kind of man Harlan sends after widows. Because they're weak?" Because he thinks they are, Elias said sharply. You proved him wrong tonight. His words hit deeper than she expected. For the first time since her husband died, Mara felt something other than fear or anger. She felt seen. But the moment shattered when Elias stiffened. He raised his rifle. Down, he whispered. Mara dropped behind a boulder, heart hammering. Through the rain she saw them, 3 silhouettes on a distant ridge, lanterns swinging, scanning the forest like predators hunting wounded prey. They're spreading out, Elias murmured. Harland won't stop. Not until he takes your land. Or you're too afraid to fight. Mara clenched her fists. Then he doesn't know me at all. Elias motioned for Mara to follow him into a cluster of massive boulders that formed a natural shelter. The wind cut through the trees, bending the pines until they groaned under their own weight. Mara crouched beside him, the rain cold on her neck, though her pulse burned hot with adrenaline. She could hear the riders on the ridge, distant voices, low curses, impatient horses stamping the wet ground. Harlan's men were closing in without hesitation, as if the storm itself had been ordered to help them. Elias leaned forward, peering through a narrow gap between the rocks. They're not searching, he said under his breath. They're tracking. Tracking what? Mara whispered. You, he answered simply. Harlan must have told them exactly where to drive you. They're sweeping the ridge in a crescent pattern, pinning you against the valley. Mara pressed her lips together to keep them from trembling. And if we stay here, they'll find us, Elias said. But if we run blindly, they'll find us faster. For a moment, the storm filled the silence between them. Mara felt her resolve shift, tighten, sharpen. The fire, the gunshots, the fear, none of it mattered compared to the truth dawning on her now. Harlan didn't just want her land. He expected her to break. He counted on it. When she met Elias's eyes, she saw the same realization reflected back. You said he's desperate, she murmured. Why? Elias hesitated, not out of uncertainty, but calculation. Because your ranch isn't just land. It sits on the only pass wide enough for moving cattle west before winter. Harlan's planning something big. And you're standing right in the middle of it. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. Her barn wasn't an act of cruelty, it was strategy. Her attackers weren't thugs, they were soldiers. In a quiet war she hadn't known. She was fighting. Elias adjusted the rifle strap on his shoulder. We move at my mark. Stay close. Stay low. Mara nodded, gripping the damp fabric of her coat. Her fear hadn't vanished, but it no longer ruled her. Something stronger pulsed beneath it, a stubborn fire she hadn't felt since before her husband's death. Elias counted under his breath. 3, 2. A sudden whistle sliced through the storm, followed by a flare of orange light. One of the riders had spotted movement near the creek. Mara's lungs tightened. They're shifting positions, Elias whispered. This is our window. He grabbed her hand, pulling her into the darkness between the rocks. Let's make Harlan regret choosing you as his target. The storm faded into a steady drizzle by the time Elias and Mara reached the old mining trail snaking along the side of the mountain. The moon, half hidden behind clouds, cast a pale glow over the jagged path. Their horses stepped carefully, hooves slipping on wet stone. Mara's muscles ached from tension, but she forced herself to stay focused. Night was no longer a shield. It was a race against what hunted them. Elias rode ahead, scanning every shadow. Harlan's men won't risk the gorge in the dark, he said quietly. Too easy to fall. That buys us time. Enough to plan? Mara asked. Enough to survive, he answered, and the seriousness in his tone made her pulse quicken. They dismounted where the trail widened into a small plateau. From here the valley stretched below her ranch, a tiny silhouette against the darkness. Seeing it like that, distant and vulnerable, sent a sharp ache through her chest. She imagined the burned ruins of her barn still smoldering, the smell of smoke clinging to the soil. She imagined Harland watching from a distance, convinced she would surrender. Elias approached her, brushing rain from his brow. "You're quiet. Just thinking. Dangerous habit out here," he murmured. But she didn't smile. "My husband died trying to save that land. I won't lose it because of a man who thinks fear is a tool." Elias studied her closely. "Fear is a tool, but not the way Harland uses it. Fear sharpens people, makes them choose who they'll become. And who do you think I'm becoming? Someone he should have never provoked." The words settled deep, heavier than the storm clouds overhead. A rustle echoed from the trees below. Elias instantly raised his hand. Mara froze. The sound came again, a soft, deliberate shift of weight. Not an animal, not the wind. A scout. Elias lowered his voice to a whisper. "They sent one ahead. Harland wants to make sure we didn't double back." Mara's breath caught. "Can he see us?" "Not yet, but he will if we stay exposed." Elias pulled her behind a cluster of boulders and crouched beside her. She could hear the scout's horse approach slow, cautious steps, hooves striking wet roots. Lantern light flickered between the trees. "Elias," she breathed. "I know." He slipped his rifle from his back, movement silent, controlled. His eyes narrowed. "Listen carefully," he whispered. "Whatever happens, don't run. Running tells a hunter exactly where to aim." The lantern glow moved closer, swaying like a heartbeat in the dark. The scout's lantern bobbed through the mist like a lone, hungry star, each step of his horse bringing him closer to the plateau. Mara pressed her back against the cold stone, forcing herself to breathe evenly, though her heartbeat thudded, loud enough that she feared it might echo across the valley. Elias remained perfectly still beside her, body coiled, gaze sharp, every sense tuned to the intruder's movements. The scout hummed under his breath, an eerie, tuneless melody carried by the damp wind. He wasn't relaxed. Mara could hear tension in the way the notes wavered. He knew they were near. He just didn't know where. Elias leaned slightly, peering through a narrow gap between rocks. "He's trying to flush us out," he whispered. Riders usually drag a line behind them to stir brush, but this one's listening. "He's trained. Harland wouldn't send an amateur," Mara murmured, gripping her coat to still her trembling hands. "No," Elias said. "He wants information, not bodies, yet." The scout's lantern beam swept across the plateau, missing their hiding place by inches. Mara held her breath until her lungs burned. The horse snorted, pawing at the ground. The man muttered something too low to catch, but the tone made Mara shiver. He wasn't just searching. He was expecting to find them. Elias tapped her arm gently, a signal to stay low. Then he moved, barely a shadow slipping along the boulder's edge. Mara watched, stomach tight with dread, as he positioned himself behind a jut of rock overlooking the path. He lifted his rifle, but not to shoot, the barrel angled slightly away from the scout. Elias wasn't planning to kill him unless forced. A body would bring more riders. A noise would bring all of them. The scout halted. The lantern tilted as he leaned forward, examining the wet ground. Mara closed her eyes. She remembered the creek water dripping from her boots, the mud that clung to the heels. Had they left a trail up here too? Suddenly the scout stiffened. His head turned. He heard something. Mara wasn't sure what gave them away, the wind shifting, a piece of gravel sliding, or her own faint exhale. But the scout straightened sharply and reached for the rifle strapped across his back. Elias whispered, barely audible, "Stay down." The scout swung the lantern high, its glow slicing through the darkness, and landing directly on Mara. Her breath froze. The scout's eyes widened. "Found you," he said. The moment the scout's voice cut through the dark, Elias moved like a striking wolf. He lunged from behind the rocks, grabbing Mara's arm, pulling her sideways, just as the scout swung his rifle toward her. The lantern's flame guttered in the sudden commotion, shadows flaring wildly across the plateau. "Run!" Elias barked, not as panic but command. Mara stumbled with him, her boots skidding over slick stone as a gunshot split the air. Sparks burst from the rock where her head had been seconds before. The scout cursed, yanking his horse around for a better angle. Elias shoved Mara behind a fallen log and dove beside her, breath sharp, rain dripping from the brim of his hat. "He's signaling the others," Elias growled. "We don't have long." A second shot cracked. Bark exploded across Mara's arm. She bit back a cry. "He's too close," she whispered. "I know." Elias peered over the log for half a heartbeat, then ducked as another bullet snapped past. He wasn't afraid Mara could see that. He was calculating, measuring, choosing. The scout reined his horse sideways, lantern swinging, the flame catching on Mara's face again. "There you are," he snarled. Elias lifted his rifle, but instead of firing at the scout, he aimed at the lantern. The shot rang out, clean and precise. Glass shattered. The light died. Darkness swallowed the plateau. The scout swore loudly, horse rearing. The sudden blindness gave Elias the opening he needed. "Move!" he hissed. Mara scrambled to her feet and followed him toward a narrow cleft between two stone slabs. Rain slicked the path, turning every step into a gamble. Behind them, the scout fired wildly into the dark, the bullets ricocheting off stone in chaotic sparks. Elias shoved her through the gap first, down the slope. "Don't stop until I say. What about you?" "I'll be right behind." She hesitated too long. A bullet screamed past her ear. Elias grabbed her shoulders. "Go!" Mara slid down the steep embankment, grabbing roots and branches to keep from tumbling. Her palms burned. Her breath tore in ragged bursts. The darkness felt alive around her, every tree a looming threat. Above, she heard Elias's boots hit the stone, then the grunt of a struggle. A fist, a kick, a muffled shout. The scout had reached him. Mara looked up just long enough to see two silhouettes locked in combat, rain flashing around them like shattered glass. Then another shape appeared on the ridge, a second rider. Lantern raised, gun drawn, taking aim at Elias. The second rider steadied his lantern, its glow cutting through the rain like a blade. Mara's stomach dropped as the light washed over Elias and the scout grappling on the slick stone. Elias shoved the man back, but the scout twisted, grabbing his coat and dragging him down again. The two rolled dangerously close to the cliff's edge. The new rider called out, "Hold him steady," his rifle leveled directly at Elias's back. Mara didn't think she moved. Grabbing a fallen branch, she climbed the slope on hands and knees, boots slipping on the slick moss. Every breath stabbed her lungs, every motion a gamble between balance and disaster. But she couldn't watch Elias fall. Not after everything he'd done for her. The rider's gun cocked. "Let him go," Mara shouted, her voice raw. Both men whipped their heads toward her. Elias's eyes widened, not in fear, but warning. "Mara, stay down." She didn't listen. She swung the branch, striking the lantern in the rider's hand. The glass shattered, flames sputtering as oil sprayed across the wet stone. Startled, the horse lurched, knocking the rider sideways. His rifle fired, the shot ricocheting harmlessly into the cliff wall. Elias used the distraction. He slammed his elbow into the scout's throat, sending the man reeling. With a sharp twist, he kicked the scout's rifle over the edge and pinned him with a knee to the chest. The second rider recovered quickly, drawing a knife as he charged at Mara. She stumbled back, heart hammering. He was too fast for her to outrun on the slick ground. He grabbed her wrist, twisting it brutally until she cried out. Elias turned at the sound. "Mara!" He leaped toward them, but the scout latched onto his leg, dragging him down again. The rider raised the knife to Mara's throat. "Harlan wants you alive," he hissed, but he didn't say unhurt. Mara's fear crystallized into something solid. She drove her knee into his stomach. The man grunted, loosened his grip just enough for her to wrench free. She grabbed a fistful of wet dirt and flung it into his eyes. Blinded, he staggered back. Elias tore free from the scout with a vicious kick and charged. His shoulders slammed into the knife wielder, knocking him flat. The blade skittered across the stone and disappeared over the edge. The scout scrambled to his feet again, but Elias was faster. One punch, then another. The man collapsed, unconscious. Breathing hard, Elias turned to Mara. Rain streamed down his face, mingling with sweat and dirt. "You okay?" he asked, voice low. Mara nodded shakily. "I wasn't going to let them take you." Elias stared at her a moment longer than before. Then he offered his hand. "Come on, Harlan's men know we're alive. Now we make sure they regret it." By dawn, the storm had passed, leaving the mountains washed clean and glistening beneath a pale gold sky. Mara and Elias moved cautiously along the lower ridge, keeping close to the tree line where shadows still clung. The night's violence lingered in every aching muscle, every bruise, every echo of gunfire that still seemed to vibrate in the air. But the danger had not lessened. If anything, the quiet made the threat feel sharper. Elias paused near a fallen pine and crouched to inspect the ground. "Tracks," he muttered. "Fresh, riders passed through here not long ago." Mara felt the chill return to her spine. "Harlan's men? Most likely. They're sweeping the valley now. He wants you cornered again before word spreads about last night." Mara exhaled slowly. Fatigue pulled at her limbs, but determination hardened inside her like cooling steel. "We need a plan. Running won't work forever." Elias didn't answer immediately. Instead, he studied the landscape, the distant stretch of her ranch, the hills carved by cattle trails, the creek curling like a wounded snake through the valley. Finally, he sighed. "You're right. And there's one place Harlan won't expect us to go." "Where?" "His own supply pass." Mara blinked. "Elias, that's suicide." "It's also the one path his riders avoid in daylight," he replied. "Too narrow for a group. Too exposed for an ambush. But two people can cross it. And what would we do there?" Mara asked. "Find proof. Evidence Harlan's been using your land for something bigger than intimidation." His gaze locked with hers. "Once we have that, we take the fight to him." Mara swallowed. The idea terrified her, but it also sparked something fierce and unyielding. If Harlan had been moving cattle, money, or supplies through her land, exposing it could turn the entire county against him. Elias examined the horizon again. "We have a few hours before his men regroup. We take the pass now, move fast, stay hidden." Mara nodded. "Then let's go." They descended a narrow slope, weaving between rocky outcrops and scrub oak. Birds had begun to stir in the branches, shaking droplets from their feathers. The world felt deceptively peaceful, as if the violence of the night had been nothing more than a dream. But Mara knew better. She felt watched, hunted. Halfway down the ridge, Elias raised a fist, signaling her to stop. His eyes narrowed. Mara followed his gaze and froze. Far below, 3 riders were crossing her ranch boundary. Not searching, patrolling. Harlan was tightening the noose. Elias pulled Mara deeper into the cover of the trees, his expression turning hard and calculating. The 3 riders moved with unsettling confidence, their formation tight, each man scanning a different direction. These weren't scouts searching for tracks, they were guards securing territory. Harland was preparing for something, and whatever it was, it had already begun. "They're not looking for us," Mara whispered. "They're guarding the boundary." Elias nodded grimly. "Which means Harland's operation is active. He's moving something through your land today." "We're closer to the truth than I thought." A knot tightened in Mara's chest. "So if we use the supply pass, we'll catch him red-handed," Elias finished. The riders reached a cluster of rocks and dismounted, inspecting a steel marker hammered into the ground. Mara's breath shook. She'd seen that marker before near an old livestock trail that hadn't been used in years. But now the earth around it was disturbed, the grass bent, the soil churned as if heavy wagons had passed recently. Elias exhaled slowly. "There, that's the trail they're hiding. The one that cuts through the gorge behind your ranch." Mara frowned. "But that gorge is too narrow for wagons, unless someone widened it." The realization hit her like a blow. Harland hadn't simply been pressuring her. He'd been altering the land behind her back, reshaping routes, preparing a pipeline through her property. And he needed her gone to finish it. Elias touched her shoulder lightly. "We follow the northern ridge and cut across the pass before those three circle back. If we're lucky, they won't spot us. And if we're unlucky, then we improvise." They skirted the hillside, keeping low among the brush. Mara stepped carefully, mindful of loose stones. Every rustle of leaves made her tense. Every distant hoofbeat sent a fresh surge of adrenaline through her veins. But Elias's steady presence anchored her, guiding her through the maze of rock and pine. As they climbed, the valley opened beneath them again. Mara could see wagons now two of them moving toward the narrow entrance of the hidden gorge. A canvas tarp covered each load, but even from this distance she could tell the shapes beneath were bulky, irregular. Not cattle. "What is he hauling?" She breathed. "Whatever it is," Elias said. "Harland doesn't want anyone seeing it." They reached a sharp bend in the ridge. Elias held a finger to his lips, listening. Wind, distant hooves. And then, a twig snapped behind them. Mara whirled. A fourth rider stood 20 feet away, rifle raised, eyes cold. "You two picked the wrong morning to go wandering." The pass narrowed into a sheer stone corridor as Mara and Elias climbed higher, the world falling away beneath them in jagged cliffs. Wind swept through the chasm like a warning, carrying the scent of dust, pine, and distant smoke. The higher they climbed, the more Mara felt the weight of Harland's territory pressing in on them. This was his domain, the place he'd built his power brick by brick, threat by threat. Elias moved ahead with careful, deliberate steps, scanning every ledge. "Stay close to the wall," he murmured. "If anyone's watching the pass, they'll expect movement near the drop." Mara nodded and pressed herself against the cold rock. Pebbles scattered under her boots, clinking into the abyss below. The sound seemed too loud, too revealing. She held her breath until the echo faded. They reached a bend where the path widened slightly. Elias knelt and brushed dirt from a series of faint impressions in the ground. "Tracks," he said grimly. "Heavy wagons. More than one." Mara crouched beside him. "Supplies? Or cattle?" Elias replied. "But whatever it was, it passed through here last night. That means Harland's operation is bigger and closer than I thought." A cold shiver traced her spine. If Harland was moving valuable goods through her land, he was risking everything to keep it hidden. And men like him didn't risk anything unless the reward was enormous. Elias rose, wiping dust from his hands. "There's a storage point ahead. Old mining shelter carved into the cliff. If Harland's hiding something, it'll be there. And if someone's guarding it, then we pray they're not expecting company." They continued forward, the wind growing stronger, funneling between the stone walls like an angry spirit. Mara squinted against the dust. The path dipped into a shadowed crevice where the light thinned, turning the world cold and gray. Elias stopped so abruptly that Mara bumped into him. "What is it?" she whispered. He lifted a finger to his lips and pointed. Ahead, partially hidden by stacked crates and a tattered wagon, stood a small stone shelter, its entrance dark, silent but unmistakably occupied. A faint glimmer reflected from inside. Metal, weapons, movement. Mara's heartbeat thrashed. Someone was guarding the place. Elias leaned close, voice barely audible. "One man, maybe two. If we're quiet, we can take a look before they know we're here. And if they're not alone?" His jaw tightened. "Then we don't run. Not anymore." For the first time since the night everything burned, Mara felt the shift inside her, not fear, not anger, but certainty. She had come too far to turn back now. Elias stepped forward, hand brushing his revolver. "Stay right behind me," he whispered. Then they slipped into the shadows of the shelter. Mara and Elias crouched behind a ridge, the first light of morning turning the valley below into a pale wash of gold and shadow. The air smelled of damp earth and pine, a stark contrast to the smoke and gunpowder that had haunted them all night. But the quiet didn't bring relief, it sharpened their awareness. Every sound could betray them. A snapping twig, a gust of wind through the trees, the faintest hoofbeat across distant rocks. Elias scanned the valley with a narrowed gaze. "Harlan's men are out there," he said quietly, moving toward the supply route. "They don't know we're here yet." He tightened the strap on his rifle, his jaw set. "If we strike now, we have the advantage. If we wait, we risk everything." Mara's fingers brushed the leather of her coat, heart hammering. She had learned to trust. Elias's instincts had saved her more times than she could count. But this plan, this final confrontation, terrified her. "And if we fail?" she asked. Elias didn't answer immediately. He simply looked at her, eyes steady, unflinching. "Then we fall together," he said, voice low, almost a whisper. "But we won't fail. Not after everything." A rustle drew their attention. From the tree line, a scout emerged, a lone figure, moving cautiously. Mara tensed. Elias held up a hand. The man paused, lantern swinging faintly, oblivious to their presence. He muttered to himself, then disappeared again into the shadows. "That's our chance," Elias said. "We move while the rest are distracted. Come on." They descended the ridge carefully, sticking close to rocks and shadows. Mara's muscles screamed with exertion, but her fear was replaced with resolve. She had spent too long being hunted, too long reacting, too long letting Harlan's power define her. Today, she would strike back. They reached the narrow pass Elias had scouted. A gorge cut through the rock, jagged walls rising like silent sentinels. Below, a hidden trail led to a clearing, where Mara's spies had reported unusual activity. Crates, horses, and the unmistakable signs of a temporary camp. Harlan was moving supplies through her land, just as Elias had suspected. Mara swallowed hard. "This is it," she whispered. Elias nodded. "In there, we find the proof. The rest will follow." Mara felt a surge of determination, a fire that had lain dormant since her husband's death. No longer would she be the victim. No longer would Harlan's greed dictate her life. With Elias at her side, she was ready to fight, not just for her land, but for justice. They slipped into the gorge, the shadows swallowing them as they moved silently toward the clearing. Every step was deliberate, every breath measured. The moment of reckoning had arrived, and there was no turning back.